To Maiduguri, besides members of the armed forces, was like you going to the gallows. You've now been drafted to go to the Northeast. Many of your family members will, of course, think that you will not be returning. There were no flights into Maiduguri. The road movement into Maiduguri was a huge challenge. Before 2015, over 16 local governments in Borno State were under the pangs of the insurgents. In Adamawa, about 3 local governments, and in Yobe State, equally about 2 local governments. So in total, you have well over 22 local governments in Northeast that came under near control of the Boko Haram elements.
New set of warfare. But in this type of asymmetric warfare, many a times you don't even know the enemy until he shoots. He is in the market, he is in the shop, he is in the church, he is in the mosque, he is in the car. Now you are with the enemy. You don't know until he acts. Almost everyone could be target or could be enemy. Because there are no signs to see just enemy. The enemy to ignore the relative is improving. You can sit in your room if you are interested and learn how to make a bomb. It's on the internet. You can sit in your room and learn how to evade or to attack or what. They are there, often free of charge.
I was in the theater from January 2015 to February 2016. And that was when the heat was really on. And the Boko Haram were in control of most of our territory in the Northeast. In fact, most of our equipments were outdated. Our ammunition storage were all depleted. I had experience as a commander of when I had to fight using practice rockets. I had to tell the chief of staff at that time that, sir, can I have some practice rockets when I was a commander in 99 Air Weapons School. So when our rockets got finished, and the air fighter we're using can only fire one shot. After one shot, the round jams. But we must drop something. The aircraft cannot move from Yola to Maiduguri. That time we were operating in Yola because of the volatile nature of Maiduguri. So you can imagine my aircraft going to Sambisa Forest from Yola, just firing one shot from the gun and coming back. So I asked for these practice rockets and we had to use the practice rockets.
because the farmers in the northeast can no longer go to farm because of terrorist activities on that. There was need by the presidency to set up a presidential relief committee that will move food reserves from the silos across the nation to the northeast. And it was a great experience for me to lead that team, which comprised of the Nigerian police, high-ranking officers, the Department of State Security, the Army, the Air Force, and all that. And during that period, which lasted for about 6 to 7 months, we moved food from federal government silos to the northeast, centralizing particularly Maiduguri and Yobe, and we distributed into food baskets to all the IDP camps in Borno State, especially the most heated areas, as far as Gambaru, Ngala, and all that. And of course, the fringes of Madagali, which falls under Adamawa State, and that brought some relief.
At the latter part of 2015, I was the Commissioner of Police in FCT here. We were embedded with the problem of terrorism, particularly in the Northeast, as at that time it was in its high peak. And generally, that was when the issue of something like kidnapping for ransom was just coming on board. In addition to what we have as serious crime like armed robbery, homicide, and other communal clashes, the situation as at that time was what we can call a state of not tolerable crime and criminality period.
We were also faced with a deep-seated problem of farmers and herders clashing continuously throughout the northern part of the country, and large swathes of territory became uninhabitable because of the clashes between farmers and the herders. There were agitations for secession from both the west and the east for self-determination, and they had started resorting to acts of violence, intimidation, coercion, etc. Then again, there was another layer of problem characterized by issues in the maritime environment. We had a main issue with pipeline vandalism, and these activities were being carried out by non-state actors in the Niger Delta. And that also added to the security situation, the problem of the kidnapping of schoolgirls from Chibok, which also had a lot of psychological drawbacks on the people of the Northeast. So this was what we met when we came on board.
I, Muhammad Buhari, do solemnly swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and that I will preserve.
And from his inaugural speech, you could see the direction Mr. President was taking. Being a general himself, he understood how to fight war, and particularly this type that engulfed not only Nigeria, but also other neighboring nations. Well, the first thing he did was to harness the cooperation and strength of neighboring countries.
He went to Chad, he went to Cameroon, he went to Benin Republic, he went to Niger. Now, he galvanized the head of state over there to now re-energize what is now very famously known as the Multinational Joint Task Force, and give it enough funding and deploy troops necessary to be able to fight terrorism, because that was the main threat at that time.
When we appointed the service chiefs The CDS and the services came together, we had a meeting, and we actually agreed within ourselves that Nigerians want us to perform miracle, to bring this security situation to an end almost immediately. But we know it's not possible. So how do we go about it? So we came to an agreement that we should take stock of what we have and look at the kind of efficiency that stock will be able to give us.
I felt that it was necessary for us to do a combat efficiency assessment, meaning what is the threat? What resources are required to be able to contain the threats? What is available within the armed forces currently, at least across the 3 domains that we fight by virtue of our organization?
By the time we finish, I think we got less than 40% efficiency for the whole armed forces. We now said, what do we need to bring it up to 50% efficiency? Because we know to get it to 100%, 75% we might just be dreaming. So we worked out what we'll be able to bring it up to 50%, and we collected it also. The Chief of Defense Staff and the Minister of Defense had to make the presentation to the President that this is your service. This is the present armed forces. This is the percentage efficiencies of the present armed forces. And at this percentage efficiency, we cannot do this job. But we will require this and this to get it to 50% so that we'll be able to achieve your aim of equipping a safe country to Nigerians.
The President has reiterated that these new service chiefs should have no other commitment but to see the end of this insurgency, banditry, and other things. And he is fully prepared to give them all the support necessary to enable them to perform the job effectively.
So the President approved everything at once, all our requests.
The budgetary allocation of the police in general was very paltry. We took up the matter with the federal government and we showed the need to upscale the budgetary provision of the police. Not only the budgetary provision, to ensure that special intervention is given to the police for them to perform more efficiently. Because I think before we came, it was just about 14 to 15 billion.
I met Mr. President and I told him we need to move from where we are. And these are some of my requirements. And these requirements are to a large extent honored and given to me. They are for patrols, they are for attacks, and the officers will be confident and because they are going to operate from a protective position. So everything is armored. Okay, you see the man that is on top, he is being protected by this rolling. We are trying to improve, and our improvement must go with the societal improvement.
Courtesy of Mr. President. So we have been able to buy more equipment in terms of vehicles, in terms of arms and ammunition. We have been able to train more police personnel and to make them more professional. We have been able to set up what we call community policing program, which is now in place in almost all the states of the Federation.
So we are going to receive an emergency alert now. And what happens is what you are hearing in the background. It can be a thudding sound, okay, but it's reduced to like 50% now. So this is an information that is available to the first responders. What is here is across, as a miniature, across the whole 36 states. So the first responder there gets to see this. John Udo sent an emergency alert. He, male, gender, type of problem, violence, and the date and time is captured. So what the first responder does here is that he quickly views the emergency that has been sent. Now we have here from all
all commands, all regions here. Every incident that has happened, they are documented.
I'm happy to inform you that the traditional ruler that was kidnapped last night, we've just rescued him now, sir.
Where did you rescue him?
He's in the forest, sir.
Any arrests of the perpetrators?
When they saw the police, sir, they took to their heels.
Abandoning the man?
The man, yes, sir.
But he has been rescued hale and hearty?
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
So on my board here, we have a live threat map that shows us the present attacks worldwide. So this helps us keep ourselves abreast with the present attacks in the cyberspace.
Nigeria's 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone is alive with maritime activity. But what looks innocent at first glance may actually camouflage illegal activity. Nigeria has acquired new strategic capabilities, becoming a regional maritime superpower, able to constantly monitor and track all EEZ events and identify the criminals that cost its economy billions of dollars a year.
For the Navy, there is no request, no single request that I have to make that involves either just approval or resources to carry out that has not been approved since I came on board. I'm glad also to inform you about one of the new ships acquired, which is a landing ship transport, christened NNS Kada, which is Nigerian Navy ship Kada that joined the fleet in May 2022, which is the first multiplier that has enhanced our capability to project naval power, as well as to support non-kinetic operations within the region.
The ship was handed over to the Nigerian Navy officially on the 1st of April 2022. It is, for now, the most sophisticated we have in West Africa. The ship has so far played some roles for the Navy. The first one was the strategic sea lift of the Nigerian Army contingent equipment from Lagos here to Guinea-Bissau. That was in August 2022. As part of the peace support operations mission of the ECOWAS, the ship was tasked with conveying those equipment, which range from tanks, containers with weapons, military vehicles of different grades and weights and sizes.
In furtherance of these acquisitions, which has bolstered the presence at sea, 20 aluminum airboats and one brand new 109 SP helicopter arrived January this year, while another 2 helicopters are expected before the end of the year from Leonardo Helicopters of Italy. 276 high-endurance offshore patrol vessels currently under construction at the Dersan shipyard in Turkey. We also have 3 38 meters fast patrol craft also under construction in France, and have 49 meters fast patrol boats by Messrs. Bora, which are being built in country. And there are also 3 46 meters fast patrol boats under construction in Polytechnologies Incorporation in China, and they're expected in October this year, amongst many others.
Nigerian Navy Ship Lana is a hydrographic and oceanographic survey vessel which was built by Messrs. Ossia, SA of France. The ship arrived Nigeria in 2021, about the middle of the year, that's in May, and has since been commissioned into the Nigerian Navy's inventory. The ship has contributed towards the renewed effort for resurvey of all Nigeria's territorial and extraterritorial waters. Historically, we have relied on nautical products from the United Kingdom's Hydrographic Office, which produced the initial navigational charts for our waters. All the British Admiralty charts are based on legacy data, which in most parts are over 160 years old. Therefore, the need to have current and updated navigational charts for Nigeria is one of the primary reasons for the acquisition of such a ship. The ship has helped us to undertake a primary resurvey of one of the most important waterways of Nigeria, which is the approaches to Lagos. Currently, on the survey, the ship is about 70% on completion of the renewal of this particular chart.
Mr. President has touched virtually everywhere in our life of the military, providing equipment, providing guidance, providing support, providing encouragement. As a general himself that has also even fought the Civil War. So he always leveraged from his experience and guide our operations and activities. And that has seen us through the successes we have been recording. In war, usually, fortunes often fluctuate. Check all the wars in the world, they are that way. They fluctuate often. But in the end, you see where the success is tilted towards. And as we speak now, the results are obvious. Talking about equipment, the thing that we should understand also sometimes is that these issues of equipment in the military, most of them, if not all, cannot just be bought off the shelf. Even when you have the money, you cannot just go to the market and buy them. They take a process. But Mr. President was not relenting in giving the support and direction which had led to turning of the tide against the terrorists.
I'm glad that you have done exceptionally well, given the reports that I've received consistently as to the progress you're making. I remain very proud of you, and I think you should keep it up. I know there's still a few vestiges of the Boko Haram ISWAP that demand greater attention from you. You must ensure that all the criminals, wherever they are hiding, you go to smoke them out from those foxes. And I know that you will do that. Do I have that commitment from you? Yes, sir!
I make bold to say that the situation of the Nigerian Air Force has really changed from what it used to be prior to 2015. In the last 8 years, President Muhammadu Buhari's led administration procured 49 new aircraft to boost the Nigerian Air Force training and combat readiness. And these aircraft include 10 Super Meshach aircraft, 3 GF-17 Thunder aircraft, 12 A-29 Super Tucano aircraft, 4 Agusta 109 power helicopter, 2 Mi-171E helicopter, and 5 Mi-35 35M helicopter. We also have 5 wing-long UAV, 2 CH-3 UAV, 4 CH-4 UAV, and 2 airborne flash UAV. Additionally, 2 Agusta 101 helicopter were ceded to the Nigerian Air Force by the presidency. The acquisitions and reactivation has improved the serviceability status of operable aircraft from about 35% in 2015 to over 75% currently. From the 2015 till date, we have trained a total of 34,015 personnel locally and 4,165 personnel overseas. This is cutting across all the aircrew and ground specialties and trades in the service. This wouldn't have been possible without this unrelenting support of President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration.
Maybe 50 to 60 more offices that will accommodate more staff. We have some systems that needed to be relocated into this place. And so we needed to get space for them. We hope that everywhere you look in the agency, there's a lot of developments. First is capacity development, capacity building. Our personnel have been able to be exposed to a lot of trainings, both locally and internationally. We've been involved in a lot of operations that hitherto were not properly funded for. The funding for the agency has significantly improved in the past since this government came in. We've been able to carry out operations that has led to serious degrading of these terrorists in every direction possible, both in the northeast, in the northwest, in the north central, and even in the south-south. Even the oil theft has significantly reduced because he has given us the capacity to be able to do a lot of things, both technologically and physically, both in human intelligence gathering and technical intelligence gathering. In terms of morale, there's a lot of incentives for operations. They get their entitlements when due. There's a lot of the mobility, they have mobility, they have houses. So by and large, our personnel have been quite encouraged.
I said I needed to beef up the personnel, the crop of the men and women working here. So he gave me that approval to go to recruit. And you know, with that approval, there is also a budgetary provision to match the approval, which also I got. So that is the first kind of support. Then I needed to train. But for recruitment, for training, we train then here, and our training goes on for minimum 2 to 3 years. Training for an officer to become a well-groomed intelligence officer. So we do that, and you require money to do that. And we not only train them to be very well-crafted, groomed intelligence officers, but also diplomats, because they have to now go to Foreign Service Academy, and which is a 12-month course. And that also is, so put together, we have trained quite a number of, recruited and trained between 400 to 500 members of staff of all categories. And we train them mainly, largely here. We gave them military training as well, and this is the first of its kind. And we cut across. They were trained by the Navy, they were trained by the Army, they were trained by the Air Force, and we took them outside. They were trained by the police and by the DDSS. So you see how groomed they are, how well equipped they are, because ours is a different kind of calling. We operate outside the country, and we have to be able to be well-grounded and well-rounded in terms of training, in terms of resilience, to be able to carry our work very well, effectively, efficiently, and undetected. And because now we are in an era of the need to share, need to collaborate and cooperate with foreign intelligence and security services, we also, more often than not, come out, but come out outside, working along and together with sister services outside the country, especially in our region, to deal with threats that have now become cross-cutting, cross-border cutting in nature. Terrorism, arms smuggling and proliferation of weapons and small arms, drug trafficking, and everything that, and even money terrorist financing, and so on and so forth.
Center is to depict a national counter-terrorism center of excellence, second to none in sub-Saharan Africa. Whatever, like the NSA will say, doesn't kill you, should make you stronger. So our counter-terrorism challenges in Nigeria, the knowledge gained from it, we're ready to share it.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this beautiful edifice you're seeing today is one of the numerous legacy projects of Mr. President, and it is the first of its kind in Africa. I think Mr. President deserves a resounding round of applause for that.
National Counter-Terrorism Center was unveiled on 21st of March. They are 2023 by me.
This is the live cam from some of our troops that are on ground. We have CCTV from Port and live video feed from our troops bringing KB. We also have the middle one is the Falcon Eye sensors. We have all the deployments of the sensors across Nigerian coastline, covering a total of 840 kilometers along the coastline and 200 nautical miles. That's approximately 370 kilometers into the sea. We have strategic assets that are being covered with the cameras.
Thank you. We've arrested over 300 vessels in the last 6 months as a result of this over-the-horizon radar, which means it can see without being impeded by any natural or artificial impediment. To be here today for the commissioning of the new office of the National Security Advisor and the National Counter-Terrorism Office by His Excellency the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari.
I congratulate the National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Mungono retired, and his team for this notable achievement. I am confident that the commissioning of the new offices of the National Security Advisor and National Counter-Terrorism Center will in no small measure enhance the desired peaceful and secure environment for our country. I thank you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
He has touched everywhere. Look at the issue of remuneration. It has motivated officers. Look at the issue of working environment, building more offices that are more comfortable than before. It has motivated officers. Look at the issue of increase in manpower. It has helped us. Look at the issue of providing tools to work. It has. So these are the things you need to have in an institution and give your life and give your commitment. He has given us training institutions that we go and train. And many of our officers, from my coming to IG, from the 6th of April 2021 to date, we have promoted not less than 240 officers of all cadres. People going on retirement are going with a lot of them, their retirement benefits have been paid.
No army in the world has everything. No country in the world has everything. Resources are always scarce. But you have level of equipment. And now, as we speak, the Nigerian army has, not only Nigerian army, other services, if you speak to them, you also hear. So Mr. President would have lived professional Nigerian army better than he met it, and that is capable of undertaking operations with the required equipment and state of mind and well-trained personnel to do it. The result of what I'm saying is obvious.
Nigeria is safer than in 2015 for a number of reasons. One, because so much effort and money has been channeled to fighting insecurity and challenges that bedeviled Nigeria before the current administration came to power. President Buhari campaigned on three securities: first and foremost, economy, fighting corruption.
Nigeria is as safe as any other country in the world, and safer than it used to be before the president came in, and it's getting safer every day because every day new things come up and they are defeated. The battle against insecurity is ongoing and is very close to being over. One of the key issues is that when things happen, we seem to kind of blow it out of proportion. Don't forget that in terrorism, one of the key things they want is publicity. And so they dwell on it and push more of whatever they are doing into the public space. And it's fear, it's coercion, it's to make people feel unsafe. A lot of it is about propaganda, a lot of it is bad media and co. So for me, who is sitting on this seat, I know that things actually are getting much, much better.
Sometimes we thought we could have a situation where there is no crime, there is no offense, there is nothing because we say there is peace. There is nowhere in the world that security is 100%. Even where we look up to, we don't need to mention countries, we know there are incidences. We have reached a place in 2005 with time where we're having explosion here and there. Almost every time, there is probably no day or no we don't hear something. But now, in all honesty, when last did we hear that? Even before the advent of terrorism, we have had period of Anini in Nigeria. We have period of others of like that, you know. Assuming, for example, we have maybe another Anini, the way we look at him that time, we'll not look at him that time. We say it's terrorism now. And now the cry will be everywhere.
Well, you know, for every man on the face of the earth, desire peace, sometimes even in absolute terms. But we also know that in reality, there's nothing like absolute peace. And so for us, one single incident of insecurity is too much. How much more the man on the street, who of course is also threatened. So he, of course, would desire to have a zero occurrence of insecurity of some sort. So what you read, of course, could come from that angle. But when you consider in relative terms where we were and where we are currently, then of course it tells you that the two are of the extremes. So on one extreme, it was terrible, and on the other extreme, it can be compared to what it was. I believe that if you go to speak to those in the various theaters or in the various environment where we have had to operate over these years, then they will be the right people who will give you the proper perspective as to what it was. Because in our local parlance, he who wears the shoe knows where it pinches.
Now, the Borno state I've heard about in many circumstances around my life as High Commissioner for Refugees and then as Secretary General was a Borno state of terrorism, of violence, of displacement, of despair. This is not the Borno that I found today. The Borno I found today is a Borno of hope, is a Borno with future.
Currently, you almost will not hear any incident in the Northeast, not because Boko Haram no longer exists, but because of the resilience of our troops. Now, this resilience only came by virtue of the training and the equipment support that they have.
We do not really appreciate
the enormity of the challenge being faced globally. It's not a Nigerian situation. There is no nation that is not having some challenge on security, none. Otherwise, a president would not come to America and become a president purely on the threat of border protection. Because if I want to summarize the emergence of Trump's popularity was more about securing the American border, southern border particularly. And from America to the United Kingdom to France to Germany, security is an issue. There is no inch of Nigerian soil under the control of any unwanted element. And I say that with all sense of pride and accomplishment. That not 1 inch of Nigerian soil is under any unauthorized control, illegal control of anybody. That is to the credit of President Muhammadu Buhari and his administration.
Within the Gulf of Guinea, 11 piracy incidents were recorded in 2021 compared to 44 in 2020. Similarly, there was a decline in pirate attacks and sea robbery in Nigeria's water, where the country reported only 11 piracy incidents and 3 sea robbery attacks in 2021 compared to what we had 22 incidents and 16 sea robbery attacks in 2020. As at February this year, according to Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, crude oil production is now 1.7 million barrels per day. Though not there yet, but efforts are ongoing to sustain this achievement.
I need to put it on record that intelligence is the basis for operations. You do not have intelligence, you can't do anything, you are fighting blindly. And so we've been able to shed light on what the enemies look like, and we've been able to assure that once you hit, you are hitting the right person. And that is why you will discover that in the past 2 years, we've been doing very serious precision operations. And I'm sure that is what led to the lowering of Nigeria's rating in the Global Terrorist Index for 2022, where there was a very drastic fall in the number of terrorist activities in the country in that year.
We do our work, but we do it so that people out there, the common man, can go to sleep. And when you sleep, when you are safe, when everybody is safe, this is how we quantify our achievement. And we know that we have achieved our work. We not only ensure that you go and sleep well with 2 eyes closed, but we try as much as possible to detect threats, things that will bring the country to its knees or to make people around Nigerians be insecure and not able to go about doing their work. So when we see people being very secure, very in safety, then we know that we have done our work.
When you hear of battle casualties, you can't easily visualize until you see them in person. These are men who have made quality contribution to our defense and security and to ensuring that Nigerians live in peace and harmony. We, on our part, of course, as their commanders, we are doing everything possible to ensure that they are stabilized. And I'd like to use the opportunity to also appreciate Mr. President, who has given us the resources that have helped us to make these quality contributions thus far. And I also want to use the opportunity to encourage Nigerians to know that there are men and women who do not sleep to ensure that they themselves are able to move about to engage in their day-to-day activities. These men that you see in this hospital, not just in this ward, in all the wards that you have visited, represent the spirit and heart of the Nigerian military personnel who, of course, are ready to pay that sacrifice in order for us to have peace in Nigeria. President, sorry. Hope you're getting better. Sorry. And you, what happened? Mine. The Northeast. Sorry. Forget that, okay? Sorry. And you? How are you? Not relaxing the weather. What happened?
I sustained an injury, a bullet injury. A surgery was carried out. And after the surgery, the medical team saw that they need to carry more surgery. So they have done the necessary requirements for the surgery. We thank the Nigerian Army, we thank the defense for not leaving us behind. No matter our injuries, in show concern, they have treated many of us, and some of us that the hospital here cannot treat, the defense and the Nigerian Army find it in their own personal interest to make sure they facilitate the movement and the treatment. We have vowed and signed to serve our country. So no matter the injuries we have sustained, the country have never left us behind.
The hospital has received upgrade in terms of structure, in terms of personnel, in terms of processes. The rehabilitation center is a world-class rehabilitation center. The clients and the wounded in action can attest to that. And we've been able to also upgrade in the area of manpower. We have consultants in various fields, from neurosurgery, cardiothoracic surgery, orthopedics, plastic. All these are geared towards ensuring that the wounded in actions are properly taken care of.
Okay, well done. And thank God for life. The medical director has given me the brief as to how all of you are faring. I just want to assure you that you get well and then fully restored in health, and for you to return to the unit and to your families, okay? We'll do everything possible to ensure that the right healthcare service is provided to you, okay? Well done.
Today we have a August visitor in our midst. That's the commander of the Zambian Air Force on a visit to Nigeria, and the visit is to enhance the cooperation between the two Air Force. We've had a lot of interactions, and earlier before this, the Nigerian Air Force has been cooperating with the Zimbabwean Air Force in areas of training. And we've sent our officers and men to their staff colleges. And again, we've also assisted the Zimbabwean Air Force to train their pilots and technicians in the year past. So this time around, we are trying to look at new avenues of cooperations between the two countries. And we are actually discovering what they have and what how we can benefit from them also. So they are also looking out for where they can benefit from us. So we hope that the cooperation will be taken to the next level.
We started cooperating with the Nigerian Air Force during the time of our liberation struggle. And we also ended up with some pilots being trained here. So the purpose of this visit really is to explore new areas of cooperation and also build upon those areas which we have been cooperating on. So we are looking at upping the relationship between ourselves and the Nigerian Air Force.
I can tell you that working with him is also like going to university. It's like learning a lot of things. He gives you the freedom to carry out your assignments. It doesn't hinder you, and he listens to you. And from time to time, he also tells you of his own experience in whatever area you are discussing.
The intelligence community will remember President Muhammadu Buhari as a great supporter of the community because he understood national security. He understood the importance of getting it right. He never hesitated or was never reluctant to give whatever he thought it will take, if that thing is available to him, to the intelligence community to be able to do its work. The kind of counter-terrorism center that is put in place.
We're going to remember him for standing by us. There are a lot of opportunities that people have tried to taint the intelligence architecture, but he stood by us. And we're here today, being able to talk confidently about what he has done for us. We cannot forget him in a long, long time. When you look around you as an intelligence officer, you will know that when President Buhari was in power, the intelligence witnessed a giant stride that cannot be blemished in a very long time. That I can assure you.
For me personally, as DG NIA, he has been an inspiration. It's a delight to work with President Buhari. He gives you an assignment, and he always says loyalty is two-way. He expects you to be loyal and to do your work diligently and to be honest. And at the same time, he takes it for granted that you're going to do just that. He gives you everything that you need to be able to do, and he will say that I appointed this man and have to mobilize and capacitate him or her to be able to do the job. If I don't do it, then he will have excuses. That is his philosophy. And because of that, he became a source of inspiration, a source of encouragement, but also a source of support, both material and moral, for us to be able to do the job.
Under the Buhari administration, one of the key points is the identification and selection of those to be appointed as heads of the intelligence and security agencies. That has been quite important in the sense that being professionals, they recognize the need for collaboration and to work hand in hand. There's a lot of collaboration amongst us. We exchange information, we build up on information, we carry out joint investigations and all the like.
A lot of assets have been acquired. Some are on ground and then some are being expected. And of course, you know, as it is with a naval acquisition, it may be that President Muhammadu Buhari may have approved the auction of certain platforms, which may take the next 4 years to produce. So they may end up coming in country during the next president.
President Shagari, who bought so many platforms for the Air Force, is the next president that has bought more platforms for the Air Force. And he will be well remembered for equipping and also training the Air Force personnel. We've never had it this good since the time of President Shehu Shagari. No other president has done that. So we will be well remembered as one of the presidents that uplifted the capacity and capability of the Nigerian Air Force.
History certainly will vindicate him to have had the armed forces right at the heart of his vision for the nation. And I'm glad that he also, in my view, got it right when he declared that without security, there cannot be no development, in sympathy, of course, with demands of the moment at the time he came into government. So the military is better for it. Our welfare has been improved upon. It was so magnanimous to look at the plight of the retirees and even the welfare of the ones that are serving, the conditions, the front line, and then to be able to see how best he can improve the welfare disposition. This is a president who did all that is possible to bring sanity within the security environment of Nigeria. And he did this by not just looking at the problems of the military, but equally other elements of the security forces, namely the police, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, the immigration, the Department of State Service, and of course, customs and immigration. You also know that infrastructural development is an area that he certainly will be remembered for. Why I'm linking it up to security? Because without infrastructure, our mobility, our movement to addressing security issues will be highly impaired.
I believe we will leave a Nigeria that is more secure than we met, at least in terms of physical security, in terms of infiltration of our borders by aliens and by criminals. It's something we've been working towards. No country is able to achieve 100% success in fighting asymmetric wars within a short period of time. We've seen these things happening in countries. In fact, even going all the way back to biblical times, we've heard of Moabites, Amalekites, Hittites, Jebusites killing each other. You've heard of wars, the Spartans, fighting, Athenians, for hundreds of years, and that is all because of the blend of the asymmetric elements with the normal conventional elements. Even in today's context, you've seen what's happened in the Middle East. Superpowers have had to run out and leave the situation worse than they met. And I'm not giving excuses for us. I'm not giving excuses, but I'm just trying to underline the fact that we're fighting a very, very difficult type of war, especially with the emergence of this social media that can mislead people. But I want to assure you that by the time President Buhari says good night to government on the 29th of May, Nigeria will be in a better situation.